Hello everyone, welcome back, and today is week 14 of my album rankings. Of course, this week we have Paper Gods. So, Paper Gods is the 14th studio album by Duran Duran. It was released in 2015, and the cover features some very interesting artwork because, as you can see, it has little references to their other songs. You know, for example, we have the tiger from Seven and the Ragged Tiger, we've got the phone from Rio, we've got the chauffeur cap, we've got the cherry ice cream smile, which I have on my shirts. We have a cherry ice cream itself, the sumo wrestler from Girls on Film, the snake, Union of the Snake, I believe, the Eiffel Tower from A View to a Kill, and that's the Rio eye. This is from the Wild Boys, I believe, and you know, the snake dances. Yeah, I'm just trying to. Oh, and this is Burning the Ground. So you know, it features a lot of references to some of their songs from the 80s. I didn't really find a lot about Paper Gods, so I'm gonna give my usual disclaimer that just because a song is lower down in the ranking doesn't necessarily mean I don't like it. It just means that I am least likely to listen to that one. And also, very quickly, I want to say that some of these songs I couldn't really find much information about. So bear that in mind, some of them didn't really have much information about them. But anyway, let's get into the ranking. So at number 12, we have Change the Skyline. Now, I am going to be honest here. Change the Skyline, I've not really listened to it that much, but the times I have listened to it, I've not been that keen on it. I do think it is a good song, but then I feel like the chorus sort of lets it down. I feel like it sort of feels like listening to two different songs. I think maybe that might just be me. The song features vocals by, I think I might pronounce this wrong. It features vocals by someone called Jonas Bajur. I may be saying that wrong. It may be Jur. It may be something completely different. I'll put the name on the screen, and I'm really sorry if I pronounced it wrong. But I couldn't really find anything else about Change the Skyline, and so we'll leave it at number 12. At number 11, we have You Kill Me With Silence. Now, the song is a product of Duran Duran's first writing session with Mr. Hudson, who I believe was a producer on this album. He definitely did a lot of work on the album. And according to him, the song germinated with Roger, who experimented with sounds and rhythmic patterns, which were produced with both live and electric drums. Again, I couldn't really find anything more about this song, so at number 11 we have You Kill Me With Silence. At number 10 we have Last Night in the City. Now this song features Kaiser, and she kicks off this track, and then she and Simon sort of go head to head, which requires Simon to sing right at the top of his range. I think you can definitely tell, you know, I do think when I've listened to the song, and especially when I've listened to it live, you can tell that he is sort of really stretching his voice up, you know, to really get those high notes. So you can definitely tell it is sort of straining to the top of his range. Maybe not really straining, because it doesn't sound like he's like forcing himself to do it, which I don't think he ever would, you know. He really cares about his voice, and he really cares about protecting his voice, so I don't think he would strain to reach something that he can't reach, but he does just get really to the top of what he can reach. It is also the second and final single from Paper Gods, and the music video was released on the 1-year anniversary of the Paper Gods album as a celebration. The video combines concert footage and lots of footage from the Paper Gods tour, as well as overlays of the streets of New York, and Kaiser appears alongside Simon on stage in the video. I do like the video. I've watched it a few times. There's a scene in there, and it sort of reminds me of the video for Reach Up for the Sunrise from Astronaut. You might know what part I mean. if you've watched both videos. But I don't really have anything else about Last Night in the City, so we'll leave it at number 10. At number 9, we have Danceophobia. I think this one might be a little bit unpopular. I know a lot of people don't really like this song, and, you know, I can sort of tell why they wouldn't like this song. I do think it is quite different for Duran Duran. You know, it's a very dancey track, and, you know, that's not really been Duran Duran's thing as such. Not into an entire album, which Paper Gods is a very dancey album. So the song features a spoken word bridge by the actress Lindsay Lohan. I do actually know who that is, before anybody thinks I don't. I have watched Mean Girls, I've watched The Parent Trap, I've watched quite a few films with Lindsay Lohan in, so I know who she is. And basically, she plays a doctor treating a patient who has dance phobia. I'm not gonna lie, it did take me a little while to kind of understand what dance phobia was, but it finally got there, eventually. But I do think it's quite a good song. It's not a song I listen to often because it's, you know, it's very upbeat, it's very dancey, but I think when you're in that kind of mood, it is a good song to listen to. But I don't really have much more to say about it, so we will leave it at number 9. At number 8, we have Butterfly Girl. Butterfly Girl features vocals from Duran Duran's longtime backing singer, Hannah Ross. Shout out to you, Hannah. Now, I couldn't really find what this song was about, but I am sure I have read before that Simon wrote it about one of his daughters, and I'm not sure if somebody just told me that and I took their word for it, or if it's actually true, because I couldn't find anything that stated that it was, but I seem to recall I might have seen a video mentioning it, or I've definitely read it somewhere, but I just can't remember where, and I can't remember if it was actually like a true thing or if it was just like a theory. I think it is a good song, it's very catchy. I think it's a good song to listen to as well when, you know, you're kind of having a bit of a rough day and it's just like, or, you know, the next day is going to be rough, you know, it's like you can make it through tomorrow, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'll find the strength within me. I do think it's a good song, and like I said, I'm uncertain if it is about what I think it's about. I did try to find out if I was correct, but I just couldn't find anything. So we'll just leave it there, and at number 8 we have Butterfly Girl. At number 7 we have Face for Today. Now, the official video for this was directed by Tajana Rhodes. I really hope I said that right. And she is actually Nick Rhodes' actual daughter, which I think may be obvious. A lot of you will probably know that, but for anybody who didn't, she is. Also, I really hope I said her name right, because I never remember how to pronounce it, and I've heard Nick say it quite a few times in interviews, and I still can never grasp it, so I'm really sorry if I said the name wrong. Duran Duran asked for fan photos to be used on the stage screens during the Japanese tour, but they couldn't make it happen, and so the images were eventually later used to make the official video for Face for Today. I think I have actually seen the music video because I was listening to Paper Gods on YouTube. When you listen to an album on YouTube, if there's a music video for the song that's coming on, it just plays the video instead of just the audio. I think I did sort of see it. I wasn't exactly watching it because I had it on in the background while I was tidying up or something, but I did sort of catch glimpses of it at times, and, you know, I did sort of wonder like where the idea came from, and I think that's pretty interesting. But I don't really have anything else for Face for Today, so we will leave it at number 7. At number 6 we have Pressure Off. Pressure Off is the first single from Paper Gods, and it features vocals by Janelle Monáe, and it also features Nile Rodgers on guitar. And I think Nile Rodgers was also another producer of Paper Gods. Well, he definitely worked quite a lot on Paper Gods, regardless of if he was a producer or not. Now, the video was shot in London and LA, and I knew this because I once saw a post from the director, Nick Egan, I believe his name is, and you know, he said that the band did their shots in London, and then Janelle Monáe, I believe Nile Rodgers as well, they both did their parts, which was shot in LA. So, you know, they didn't all do it in one studio. And an interesting thing about the video I remember is sort of like there are parts where the band are like looking at each other, or specifically Simon. I know Simon definitely is, and he sort of like looks over. Well, there was actually nobody there when, you know, they had to do that. So they kind of had to just like pretend that somebody was there. I just thought that was interesting. It's the one fact that I remember about the music video, was that, you know, they sort of had to pretend that there was someone in their eye line that they was looking at. And, you know, I found that really interesting because none of them were shot together. Like, every person's scene that you see in that video, it was them on their own, and then it was just all sort of edited together, which I think you can tell, but it's still an interesting fact regardless, I think. But I don't really have anything else to say about this song. So at number 6, we have Pressure Off. At number 5, we have The Universe Alone. Now, this song is about oblivion and death, which I think is pretty obvious. I think it's quite eerie in a sense. More so at the beginning. It does sort of have that like apocalyptic end of it all sort of feel, in my opinion. So I think they really did capture that like oblivion sort of feeling. Mr. Hudson said he wanted to make the song sound like the end of the universe, which, like I said, it did, you know, it had that like eerie feeling at the beginning that did sort of feel like this is the end, you know. But in a way, it's sort of like this is the end, but this is also like the start of something else that is better. That's what I thought when I listened to it. It's not a song that I listen to a lot. I do think it is quite sad in a way, so I don't listen to it a lot, but I have a few times, and I do think it is, you know, a really beautiful song. The song concludes with a choir performing angels who are welcoming people to the afterworld. I think you can really instantly pick up on that vibe, that it is just like, sort of like crossing from one life to the next. And I think that is very interesting. I do wonder if Simon wrote any of the lyrics to the song, because like I have seen him in interviews and read things in interviews of him speaking about how he's not sure what he believes when it comes to the afterlife. So, you know, I do wonder if he had any sort of writing contribution to the song, which I'm sure he probably did. In a sense, it sort of gives me like a retro Duran Duran vibe, you know, like I can't pinpoint exactly when, but I just know it has like a, you know, a different era sort of feel to it, and I can't really pinpoint what, like I just said, but that's what I think about it. I do think it sounds like Duran Duran from previous years, but I couldn't find much else about The Universe Alone, really, so we will leave it at number 5. At number 4, we have What Are the Chances? Now, according to Mr. Hudson, the track was almost titled A Diamond Explodes. And I think that would be a really cool title, especially when you have a diamond in the mind from All You Need Is Now. Because I know, like, while the song that's titled A Diamond in the Mind is an instrumental, you know, there's a DVD for All You Need Is Now, which is A Diamond in the Mind. I don't know, I feel like A Diamond Explodes and A Diamond in the Mind, you know, it just works, and it would have, you know, I think A Diamond Explodes would have been a really great title. But I do understand why it was titled What Are the Chances anyway, because, you know, that is kind of what they're saying in the song, and I think that does make more sense, really. I remember the first time I listened to the song, actually, it was watching a live performance of it that somebody recorded in, I think it was in Liverpool in 2016, possibly. I don't think it was 2015. I think it was 2016. If I can find it, I might link it below if I remember. But that was the first time that I listened to that song, was watching that video, and I just thought it was a really lovely song. And you know, I couldn't really find anything about what it's about, which I was disappointed about because I was kind of hoping I could. But I've always sort of assumed it was about, like, you know, the band meeting and, you know, getting together and coming to be this big, like, worldwide sensation, and, like, you know, this big band that everybody knew and many people loved. So I don't know if that is what it is about, but that's what I feel it's about. I could be wrong. That's just my interpretation. So at number 4, we have What Are the Chances? At number 3, we have Sunset Garage. Now, again, Sunset Garage, I couldn't really find anything about, but I did read that, you know, it's sort of similar to Taste the Summer from Astronaut, and once that was pointed out, I could really hear that, you know, I could really hear that sort of resemblance. I really like Sunset Garage. I think it is a really upbeat, happy song. It's a really positive, optimistic song, and I think, you know, sometimes you just need that, you know, when you're in a pretty bad place or you're just not having a good day. I think Sunset Garage is the song that you can listen to and it will, you know, cheer you up a little bit. But I can definitely now hear the similarities between Sunset Garage and Taste the Summer. I'm quite surprised I never noticed that before, really. But again, this was a song that I couldn't find much about. So at number 3, we have Sunset Garage. At number 2, we have the album's title track, Paper Gods. Now, I think Paper Gods is a really great way to kick off the album. And as I've said before, like, despite it being the title track, sometimes Duran Duran albums don't always have the title track as the first song. For example, in Red Carpet Massacre, and I also think in Astronaut. So, you know, there's definitely a few where the title track is not the first song. I think in Paper God's case, Paper Gods needed to kick off the album. I couldn't really find anything about what it was about when I was trying to research, but I have, excuse me, some people are, I don't know, playing games out there or something, so we can hear something. But I have watched multiple interviews and, you know, discussions, videos just about Paper Gods, and when Simon's been asked, like, what is Paper Gods about, I believe he's always described it as sort of being about, you know, about money, about, basically, I believe it's about sort of being like people who are money hungry and people who are in power and, you know, things like that. I believe I have read somewhere that it is quite a political song for Duran Duran. I think they might have said themselves that it is, you know, one of the first biggest political songs that they have ever written. But yeah, I think the song, it really is, you know, it's very honest, you know, it talks about a lot of, like, issues, really, like, you know, things that are actually real. And, you know, I think once you listen to the words, you'll understand what I mean. But I don't really have much to go on about this song, and I've sort of gone blank as usual, so I can't even really think of what to, you know, say about it, other than that I do believe, you know, it is, the Paper Gods are like people in charge of money and things like that. It was only the other day I literally watched something where Simon was talking about what it is about, and now I have completely forgot, so that is terrific. Considering I couldn't find much about this song, or even hardly anything, we will leave it at number 2. So at number 2, we have Paper Gods. At number 1, my favourite song from Paper Gods is Only in Dreams. Now, Only in Dreams has been my favourite song from Paper Gods for quite a while, and I don't really see that changing because, you know, I've listened to the album quite a few times. You know, I listened to it the whole way through last night so I could rank it, and I don't really think there's another song on Paper Gods that could replace Only in Dreams in my favourite place. There is one, It's a bonus track. I haven't included the bonus tracks on the ranking, but I'll get into those in a minute. Niall's guitar parts in Only in Dreams were lifted from an 11-minute solo, according to Simon. Apart from that, I couldn't really find much about Only in Dreams. In fact, I could hardly find anything. I have heard that, you know, people sort of wonder if there's a vampire in a limousine is about Nick. I don't know if that is actually a thing that is true, like it was, you know, written in reference to Nick. I'm not sure. I'm very sorry, Nick, if that sounded rude. I like it, you know. I think the way it begins and the way it ends, you know, it's sort of like going into a bit of a dream when you listen to it. And, you know, it does kind of just describe, like, what a dream is like, you know, like how it's quite bizarre and things don't always make sense or align in dreams. But I love it. I think it's a great song, and I think that would be my song from Paper Gods that I would love to see live. If I saw Duran Duran live and they played Only in Dreams, I think I'd actually pass out. Like, I'd be on the floor. And then everyone around me would be like, oh my god, it's like the 80s again. I have been to see Duran Duran live once. I didn't pass out, surprisingly, but I think I did, you know, probably hurt everybody's ears within a 50-foot parameter of myself. I'm joking. Unfortunately, couldn't find anything about Only in Dreams, and I really wish that I could have. There was not a lot I could find about a lot of the songs, and when I did find things about the songs, it wasn't a lot. Like, sometimes some albums you'll have so much information about a song that you're kind of having to like decide what's most important to include, and then some albums or some songs on albums you just have nothing at all. So I'm a little bit disappointed that I couldn't find any information for Only in Dreams, but regardless, it is my favourite song from Paper Gods. As I said before, that I'd come back to the bonus tracks on the album. I am. So there is a deluxe edition of Paper Gods. I think I might actually have the deluxe edition of the CD, but I can't tell because for some reason it doesn't have a track list in it, which I think is a bit silly. No offence, Duran Duran, or Warner Brothers, but I'm quite confused as to why there isn't a track list in this CD. Is there? No, there's a booklet that doesn't have... Oh, it does. Sorry, it's in the book. I do prefer it when it's on the back because it's easier to see then, but I'm really sorry. I take it all back. The deluxe edition of the Paper Gods album has 3 bonus tracks, which are Planet Roaring, Valentine Stones, and Northern Lights. My favourite out of the 3 is Valentine Stones. I don't really listen to Planet Roaring, I'm going to be honest, and I occasionally listen to Northern Lights, but if there was a song that would take Only in Dreams' place in the position of my favourite, it would probably be Valentine Stones. It's quite funny because I didn't actually like Valentine Stones when I first heard it. I was like, ooh, I'm not keen on that. But I only heard sort of like a snippet of it and I just wasn't keen, and so I kind of put off listening to it. And then I think when I actually listened to Paper Gods in full, the deluxe edition, it came on, or I either decided to give it a chance, I don't know, but I definitely obviously ended up listening to it at some point, and I came to realise I actually by the end of it was like, oh, I actually really like that song. I did put it down pretty quickly. I think you do kind of have to give songs a little, you know, sometimes you have to give them more than one chance. I think some songs, you know, like instantly, and that you just really don't like them, but when you're like, I'm not really keen on that, I think sometimes you do have to go back and listen to it again just to make sure how you really feel about it. Because as well, I think some songs, you know, are songs for when you're in the mood for, you know, certain songs. Like sometimes you can just listen to anything. And sometimes you might want something a little bit more cheerful or something more melancholic, you know, something relaxed and chilled. I think music can sometimes, you know, it can just be a mood, really. If you're not really in the mood to feel funky or groovy, you probably don't want to listen to Danceophobia. And if you're not really in the mood to be like melancholic, you probably don't want to listen to The Universe Alone. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes music can just depend on how your mood is, and that's fine. And I've sort of forgot what I was on about. Oops. I think the bonus tracks on Paper Gods are really good. I didn't include them in the ranking because if there's only one bonus track on an album, then I will include it usually, but considering there was 3, I felt like it might, you know, sort of take away from just Paper Gods alone. So that's why I didn't include the 3 bonus tracks in the ranking. I just wanted to rank Paper Gods for what it originally is. But I do think the bonus tracks are good. I'm glad they were included on the deluxe edition of the album, because there's nothing worse than when there's a good song and it's like a bonus track and then it's not actually available on an album or streaming. You just got to watch it on YouTube on some sort of random performance they did for one night only. Looking at you, Virus. I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. We need Virus. We need Virus to be released as a single. Please make it happen. We need Virus. Completely off topic now. That's Astronaut. We're on Paper Gods. Yeah, I think that's all I have for Paper Gods. As I said in the last video, you know, Paper Gods is an album that people either like or they don't. And from what I've seen, a majority don't. So it's quite rare when you find someone who actually enjoys Paper Gods and likes Paper Gods, and it's like, oh my gosh, there are other people that like this album. I can definitely understand not liking some of the songs on Paper Gods, because, you know, they are very different from typical Duran Duran songs. But I always say, like, you know, Duran Duran are quite experimental and they like to make, you know, different music and different sounds and things like that. And I think, you know, like, criticising their work, they're always like proud of and happy about that, you know, they work on for a really long time as well, because they want to perfect things, and then people come along and are really like spiteful to the albums and are like, you know, this is terrible, I can't believe they made it. It's like, okay, well, just because you don't like it doesn't mean they weren't allowed to make it. I think it's quite harsh to be very critical of an album, like, you know, because it's like, you know, to you it is just an album, but to the artist it's like, you know, their work that they spent a long time making, and, you know, it's something that they're probably proud of. And then to see people like belittling their music and saying, oh, this was like the worst album they made and like none of the songs are even that great, it's just like, what? You don't have to like the album, but you don't have to be so harsh. Do you know what I mean? Even when I read like album reviews in like smash hits from like the 80s, and they're really like criticising an album, it's sort of like, you know, this is one person's opinion that's seeming to speak for so many people who, you know, may actually disagree with this. I don't know, I don't think it's particularly right to tear down an album so much just because you don't like it. But, you know, I have seen people literally say like really bad things about Paper Gods, and I listened to it thinking it was going to be this like terrible album that was just noisy and heavy, and I don't really see what the big deal is. I can definitely see why some songs people may not be keen on, but I can't, you know, I don't think every song on the album is worth hating the album for. People really are very critical of Paper Gods, and, you know, saying like, why did they even bother making it at all? Like, because they wanted to, and because it was something they wanted to make, and, you know, you don't have to like it, but you don't have to be horrible about it. Anyway, I'm gonna stop my rant there because, as you can tell, I'm getting a bit carried away and I'm sort of losing track of actually what I'm saying. But basically, just because you don't like an album doesn't mean you have to make such a big deal out of like hating it. You know, you can say you don't like the album, but when you're really making this big deal about how much you hate it and saying like it should never have been produced, that's going a little bit too far. But anyway, that concludes my ranking of Paper Gods. So next week will be Future Past. So if you want to stick around for that, it is appreciated. I only have 2 more albums left to rank, which is... I'm starting to panic a little bit because I don't know what videos I'm going to make when I've finished ranking the albums. Will I have to do songs on their own? Will I have to listen to, you know, bonus tracks and B-sides? There is an album that I am planning on ranking when I finish ranking the Duran Duran albums, and I think it will be an album that many people love, or at least like. I'm not trying to give it away too much, but if you know, you know. It is Duran Duran related, if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, that is it for my Paper Gods ranking. As I said, next week will be Future Past, and then the week after will be Dance Macabre, and then that will be the end of the rankings. Or maybe not, maybe there will be another one. If you want to stick around for that, that is appreciated. I still can't believe there's only 2 more albums to rank. Until the next one, bye.